For every wealthy MCU character blessed with fortune, there was another forced to struggle through poverty. Here are the richest versus poorest MCU characters, starting at the absolute apex of wealth, Victor Von Doom. Victor Von Doom is synonymous with absolute power, feared for his genius intellect and commanding presence that can bring entire planets to their knees. Even though he hasn't fully taken over the screen yet, he is gearing up to make his highly anticipated debut in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday, where his legacy as a financial and political juggernaut is already legendary in the lore. As the supreme ruler of Latveria, Dr. Doom commands resources that very few characters in the entire MCU have access to.
He is Victor Von Doom. He's the reason we were able to come here.
Welcome to our world.
This means it's the power of a sovereign nation with its own gross domestic product, advanced military, and a personal fortune built through exclusive patents. And unlike Tony Stark, who had to constantly answer to a board of directors, shareholders, and the United States government, Doom answers to absolutely no one. Every single cent generated by his nation belongs entirely to him, as he completely dictates the global market, something that has impressed many fans, with some saying he sells a lot of his inventions on the black market to other governments or to other supergroups. He also has a financing guy you see that invests and handles his money, so you know the rich get richer because they can move that money around to where it gets the most. And no one interferes with Latveria because Dr. Doom is too powerful and resourceful. Unlike the established legend that is Victor Von Doom, the complete opposite happened to Peter Parker, who became a symbol of Marvel's struggling, ground-level era. Peter Parker is genuinely left with nothing right now, as he is the most financially devastated character in the current MCU by a significantly wide margin. His journey reached a heartbreaking climax in Spider-Man No Way Home in 2021. Although the movie was a legendary hit, sitting at a phenomenal 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb as of 2026, and dominating the world with a staggering $1.92 billion box office run, in the real world, in-universe, Peter Parker was left with absolutely nothing. 4 years after No Way Home, Peter Parker is now an adult living entirely alone in a freezing, run-down apartment, having voluntarily erased himself from the lives and memories of everyone that he loves. Because Peter Parker technically no longer exists on paper, he has no credit history, no high school diploma, and no Stark Industries internship.
Something bad was going to happen, and the only way to stop it.
And so, he went from having access to a multi-billion-dollar orbital satellite system via the Edith glasses to hand-making his own classic Spidey suit from cheap fabrics. This was also noticed by fans, as they adored his transformation and had sympathy for him, saying, "Bro saved the entire multiverse from collapse, and his reward was a landlord yelling over $400 rent. He might literally be the poorest man in New York right now." And I love that they made him broke. He's not a billionaire-backed hero anymore, just a struggling kid trying to do good even when he can't afford a hot meal. That's Spider-Man. While Peter Parker struggled with a divisive and tragic financial reality, Shuri spent her time proving she was worth every cent of her royal inheritance. Following the heartbreaking events in which T'Challa dies, Shuri is thrust into the spotlight, as she is now the Black Panther and the de facto ruler of Wakanda. Jumping into the leadership role in Black Panther Wakanda Forever in 2022, Shuri was expected to bring a fresh, technological energy to the throne while mourning her brother. And so, her emotional performance caught everyone's eye, helping the movie pull in a massive $859.2 million at the global box office, and sitting at a solid 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb. But when you look at her in-universe net worth, things reach a whole new level of insane. To understand vibranium's immense value, you have to look at the exact math behind it, as it is the most versatile and sought-after resource in the MCU. With vibranium valued at an astronomically high price, some estimates placing it at around $10,000 per gram, Shuri's control over Wakanda's reserves makes her wealth practically immeasurable. On top of that, she oversees a country full of magnetic levitation trains, highly advanced nanotechnology, and kimoyo beads, which means a significant amount of natural wealth could be generated from all of it. Because of her near-total control over this multi-trillion-dollar metal, fans still see Wakanda as the ultimate economic superpower, with some saying the GDP of Wakanda may exceed every country on Earth combined. When the most expensive metal in the universe is woven into casual clothing, you're playing on a different financial level. And Shuri doesn't just have money, she controls a resource nations would go to war over. She could buy out Stark Industries with pocket change, proving she sits on untouchable wealth. But for every Shuri who inherited a technological empire, there is Yelena Belova, who couldn't meet the financial expectations of a modern hero. Florence Pugh was already bringing a fresh, funny vibe to the MCU when she debuted as Yelena Belova in Black Widow in 2021, where her performance was consistently top tier and filled with humorous jokes even during fight scenes. However, when you look at her bank account, things take a turn for the worse almost immediately. The character Yelena Belova has no clearly established personal income, no company, and no large, stable government salary, even after the Thunderbolts rebranding as the New Avengers. In the movie, she's a former brainwashed assassin turned reluctant hero, so her financial situation is essentially whatever her shady government handlers are paying her. She operates in the shadows, meaning her character doesn't have the same hype or public recognition that the original Avengers did. And so, fans often point out her mix of humor and bleak practicality, saying she's in such a mood, her biggest flex being a $20 vest with lots of pockets because she never had money before is both tragic and funny. And Yelena is definitely living paycheck to paycheck on Val's government dime. It's crazy how these heroes save the world, but still have to worry about buying groceries. While the newcomers, like Yelena Belova, struggled in the lower brackets, Reed Richards used his unparalleled brainpower to become a top earner. As we look ahead to his highly anticipated introduction, Reed Richards is unequivocally the wealthiest character in Earth 838. He's an inventor recognized globally as one of the most brilliant minds in Marvel Comics history, and so his bank account is expected to reflect that genius. The Fantastic Four First Steps showcases numerous advanced technologies built by Reed Richards, from the futuristic Baxter Building to the Fantasticar, proving that his mind is an absolute goldmine.
I don't dream, I don't wonder. I invite the worst possible thing into my head to figure out how to hurt them before they hurt anybody else.
And as he is the man who figures out how to bend space-time, access alternate dimensions, and create unstable molecules that can adapt to superhuman abilities without tearing, he essentially holds the keys to the future of human advancement. On top of that, corporations, governments, and the private sector would pay billions of dollars just to license a fraction of his discarded prototype ideas. All of this has made fans incredibly eager to see that economic dominance translated to the big screen, emphasizing that his intellect is his ultimate currency. As fans say, in the comics, his patents made him rich. His genius didn't just build wealth, it helped build the entire world they live in. And Reed's superpower isn't just stretching, it's his brain. He should comfortably be a multi-billionaire just from patenting unstable molecules for everyday clothing. Unlike Reed Richards, who monetized the future, Sam Wilson became the ultimate symbol of Marvel's financially exploited heroes. Taking over the mantle of the Shield in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Captain America Brave New World, Sam Wilson had the impossible task of replacing the legacy of the original Captain.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
But while Chris Evans' Captain America seemed to have his housing and life covered by S.H.I.E.L.D. and Stark Industries, Sam Wilson faced a harsh reality. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier established an undeniable truth that completely shook the fanbase. Tony Stark never actually paid the Avengers a salary. After that, Sam Wilson had no stable income beyond basic, sporadic government contracts. The true gut punch came when Sam Wilson, a literal universe-saving hero, was flatly denied a standard bank loan for his family's struggling fishing boat in Louisiana. This completely divided the fanbase, as it served as a massive reality check. Critics noted that he lacked the financial backing required to operate comfortably as a global hero. While fans were extremely vocal about this underwhelming financial treatment, saying, if banks can justify loans with his contracts and brand value, denying an Avenger just shows how broken the system is. while others defended the realism, saying he was refused due to a 5-year financial gap from the blip and a military career, not because he's broke, just not Stark-level rich. Even though Sam Wilson's financial struggles were difficult to watch, Professor Charles Xavier proved that pure, old-fashioned generational prestige commands a king's ransom. Professor Charles Xavier comes from immense wealth and personally funded much of the X-Men's covert operations, which was impressive. And when he made his grand return in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, his presence was a massive hit, helping the film gross a staggering $955.8 million worldwide. But his in-universe wealth is what truly boggles the mind, funding a private paramilitary force of superpowered mutants, while keeping the lights on at a private boarding school requires an insane amount of liquid capital. And surprisingly, there are no government grants or merchandise sales funds funding the X-Men, as it is entirely bankrolled by Professor Charles Xavier's considerable fortune. As a result, his wealth captured everyone's attention as fans started praising his financial standing, saying, "Xavier's bank account is the real X-Men MVP. He burns through Blackbirds and jet fuel like nothing and still replaces them without blinking. And old money hits differently. Charles Xavier is secretly one of the richest men on the planet just to keep a mutant militia completely off the government's financial grid." But unlike Charles Xavier, who built an empire, there is Scott Lang, who is already sitting at the absolute bottom of the financial food chain. Debuting in the MCU as a former convicted thief, Scott Lang's Ant-Man was designed to appeal to a more grounded, working-class audience. Even though his films like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania grossed hundreds of millions of dollars, Quantumania alone pulled in $476 million, Scott Lang's in-universe wallet has always been completely empty. He was seen struggling immensely to pay child support for his daughter, Cassie, and was so desperate for income that he used a fake alias just to get a minimum wage job serving ice cream at Baskin-Robbins, only to still get fired because, as the line goes, Baskin-Robbins always finds out. This shows a reality that, even after saving the universe and starting his ex-con security business, Scott Lang's financial life has always been a massive struggle. However, fans have heavily praised this relatable struggle, saying, "Scott Lang is the best. He didn't start out saving the world, just trying to pay child support so he could see his kid. That real-life struggle makes him the most human in the franchise." And Scott Lang stands out because he's not a billionaire or a god, just a guy with a past, a big heart, and a real fight to stay in his daughter's life.